Welcome to Body Buddies, home of the Power Foods lifestyle. Take it one meal, one workout, one day at a time. And now, here's the founder of Body Buddies, Kristy Jo.
Hello, Body Buddies. I'm Kristy Jo, mind and body strategist, founder of Body Buddies, and author of the Power Foods lifestyle. Today, I want to talk about the topic of binge eating and emotional eating because this is a topic relevant to today. Today is Valentine's Day. I'm wearing my red shirt, and I am actually sitting in a grocery store right now, watching people come in. I already walked around the store. There's all sorts of sugar and chocolates and flowers, and this is a holiday where love is really praised, and a lot of times it is a very difficult day for people because they either A, are going to have unmet expectations and feel disappointed and discouraged, or B, they're not in a relationship and they think that's where happiness lies. They feel lonely, they feel unloved, and so any of these feelings, and this is not exclusive to women, men can also feel this way, can lead us to an emotional state where we tend to cope with food. When we cope with food, it may continue until we are in what we call a binge. Now, what defines a binge? A binge is when we feel we have lost control, when your mind is saying you really should stop, but you don't, and you keep going. That's where we're in a binge, and especially when there is guilt that follows the eating, when there's some shaming, when there is some feelings of frustration with yourself, that would be what we call a binge. Now, we don't want to label it just to stamp a label on and make us feel even worse, but we do want to identify when it is something that's causing us some grief, and that's when we can start to find solutions when we're aware there's a problem. So I'm here to offer some solutions if you find yourself experiencing yourself binge eating, even emotional eating, anything resulting in those negative emotions that I just described. So I actually work a lot with disordered eating, binge eating, bulimia, anorexia, and simply body image, body dysmorphia, feelings of just not being enough. And I have great compassion and empathy. If you are feeling these things and your body is never good enough and you cannot control yourself, or you're controlling yourself too much and your mind is constantly focused on your body, I empathize on some level because most of my life was spent in that way of thinking. For 20 years of my life, I woke up thinking of the calories I had eaten and went to sleep thinking of, was I going to hate myself, love myself? My exercise was punishment for what I ate. I constantly counted everything. I knew how many calories were in everything. But this story today is not about me. You can hear more of my story if you go to bingebyebye.com. You can watch my interview there and also get exclusive access to the 12-week Binge Bye Bye recovery mindset and nutrition workbook that I've designed and taken so many people through. It's been a great blessing to share. So let's talk about what happens after a binge. I want to teach you the road to recovery because I don't want you to struggle in this anymore. You've probably already struggled enough. And I was on the phone yesterday with a client and I asked her, I said, are you willing to believe that the fix is simple? That if we figure out a few key things, that you don't have to have this be your life anymore. She paused and she'd never thought of that. Is the solution simple? So I would like to present to you that the solution is simple, and it's simply through our repeated, consistent efforts to go through the process that's where the success lies. So when you find yourself after a binge, whether it's that night, binges do happen in the morning, afternoon, whenever. So I guess whenever you find yourself in that oh crap phase, this is what I'd like you to remember. B.I.F. 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 And you could look at it like, I just biffed, I just biffed. I just fell and scraped up my legs and my body and whatever. So it's analogous to, you fell down. And that's okay, because life isn't about not falling down. As Les Brown says, when life knocks you down, land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And I firmly believe that. So what does B.I.F stand for? B.I.F is balance your body. So we want to quickly get going to balance our body. Now, if you are so full and your stomach is protruding and you're not going to be able to eat anything, then you're going to wait. Drink some water, but don't drink excessive amounts of water, because chances are you binged on a lot of carbohydrates, which are going to break down to sugars. Every single one of those glucose molecules, when it's stored as glycogen, stored in the liver and in all the muscle sites, each gram of that glycogen is going to attract 4 molecules of water. So that's why you're going to be really bloated. That's why you're going to be retaining a lot of water, because you have all that excess glycogen in your body. And of course, if you ate enough that you maxed out that glycogen storage, yes, that did spill over into body fat. However, you're not going to get that body fat off by simply, withholding calories. Our body does not work like that. It's a chemical environment. And so in order to get rid of those, it's going to take us, 3 to 5 days. I don't want to say that to discourage you or frustrate you, but it is the reality of the science. So what we want to understand is go light on the liquid, because you're already feeling gross. You don't need to feel even more bloated and puffy. So when you feel like there is some room in your body, most particularly what I'm talking about is the next morning. If you binged at night, a lot of people feel like, oh, I should not eat. Yes, you should eat. However, I don't want you to eat an energy nutrient. An energy nutrient is a carbohydrate or a fat. So we want to put our stabilizer nutrients in your body to help bring your body to a point of balance, to help your blood sugar get as stable as possible while your body is digesting and working through all the excess energy you've put in there. So what are those stabilizing nutrients? That is protein and vegetables. So here are a few ideas of what you could eat. You could do a 1/2 cup of cottage cheese with 1/2 of a diced up cucumber. You could have a protein shake in water with 2 stalks of celery. You want the fiber in there. The fiber is going to help move everything through as well. You could try having 2 to 3 ounces of chicken or fish or tuna with some leafy greens, no dressing, just the protein and the vegetables. I'd like you to stabilize and do those balancing nutrients, those PV, protein veggie meals every 2.5 to 3 hours until your body indicates hunger. Now, there's a difference between the feeling, that gurgling in your stomach of, when things are moving around and it's digesting, versus hunger. Depending on the severity of the binge, it could be after one meal that you have stripped the energy nutrient. What do I mean by stripping? Well, a rounded out meal would be a protein, veggie, carb, a protein, veggie, fat, protein, veggie, carb, fat. Those are all blended types of meals, and I discuss those in my book, The Power Foods Lifestyle. You can get a free copy over at powerfoodslifestyle.com, and I highly encourage you to go take advantage of that. That's my gift to you. You just have to help with shipping. So when we strip a meal, we're taking the carbohydrate and the fat, and we're taking that off of the PV. That's the anchor to every meal we eat, stabilizer. So you're going to strip the meal long enough until your body indicates hunger, and then you will start tacking on the energy nutrient again. Now, I'd prefer that you add on the fats rather than the carbs at that point if your body is indicating hunger. Fats, I'm talking nuts, nut butter, olive oil, coconut oil, egg yolk, what are some of our other fats? Olives, avocado. These are all beautiful sources of energy that are more blood sugar stabilizing versus a carbohydrate like crackers, breads, rice, potatoes, tortillas, anything like that. That is going to break down into sugars, which is going to raise your blood sugar. I want you to really try and balance your blood sugar following a binge. That's going to help you to use up a lot of that stored glycogen in your body. Now, So once you have balanced your body, I want you to make sure you get 3 to 4 grams of omega-3s in your body. That should happen every day, regardless of whether there was a binge or not, but particularly following a binge. Get the omega-3s in there. Get your 5,000 international units of D3. That should be happening every day as well. And also 400 to 500 milligrams of magnesium. That should be happening every day in the evening. Those are our 3 balancing nutrients, by the way. However, what you may notice when you are going into a binge or out of a binge, your body is going to crave water more. And like I said earlier, that's going to attract more the water, 4 molecules of water per gram of glycogen. So that's your body saying, hey, I need to store this glycogen, give me some water. And so that's why you are thirstier following an excess carbohydrate feeding. And so it's not to say withhold water. The more water you drink, you're going to get way, way, way more puffy. So balancing your body, keep drinking water, just not excessive water. Okay, let's move on to the I, which is that we are going to identify what the trigger was. And so we have to step back away from ourselves. We have to ask ourselves some very important questions, because binges don't just happen. The thing is, behavior comes from emotions, and emotions come as the result of thoughts, and thoughts come as the result of life events. So we can't necessarily control life events. Those are going to happen. So we also can't really control what emotion we feel based on the thought we have. That's a deep, deep subconscious psychological programming. That would take years. I'm sure you could reprogram that. In fact, I'm positive you can reprogram that, but that would take extreme dedication and focus on that. So where can we begin to truly make a change? Because the fact is, if you're experiencing an emotion like, let's say your trigger is loneliness, stress, feeling unvalidated, feeling that your contribution is not good enough or worthless, those emotions might be programmed to coping with food. And that may be something that began at a young age. It may have began later in life. Whenever it began, what you want to do is trace back the situation around your binge. So you're looking at it and asking yourself a few key questions. What emotion was I feeling at the time? What was going on? So let's say today with Valentine's Day, I'm pretty confident in saying that this example is going to happen to several people, if not many, many people. Let's take a married woman, for instance. She loves her husband. She knows her husband loves her. And she is looking forward to a day where perhaps he'll show a little more affection than usual. Perhaps he'll get her some flowers, or maybe, just maybe he'll plan something super romantic, or maybe he'll just surprise her in some way. You know, she sees on Instagram and Facebook all these other women and the way their husbands dote on them or appear to dote on them. And she sets herself up for this expectation or even this hope. And the day goes by, and her husband has barely even acknowledged Valentine's Day. He comes home from work. She has made a Valentine's dinner, and he totally forgot to bring flowers. And it's been a busy day. He's been very consumed. And he walks in the door, and he's like, oh, crap. And he's like, honey, I'm so sorry. I wanted to get you flowers, and all this stuff happened at work and meetings. And, she tries to brush it off and, oh, it's okay, honey. I know you're working so hard. But inside she's hurt. Inside she feels that she is not as important as work. She feels unvalidated. She feels unappreciated. They sit down and have a nice dinner. She's prepared, and he says, thank you, honey, that was very nice, but I gotta go send some emails. I need to go finish up some of these really pressing things in the office, and I'll see you. Maybe we can watch a movie tonight or something. And she's like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I guess I'll just do the dishes while you go do that. So she does the dishes, and she takes care of that, again feeling unappreciated, feeling that she is second to work. Whatever it is, she's on Instagram and Snapchat, and all her friends seem to just have life so good, so loved, and they're getting all these doted on and cards and flowers and balloons, and so just got randomly whipped off to destination where they're like having a romantic dinner. She's just feeling completely abandoned. And so while her husband's in the office, she sneaks into the pantry. She opens up the Oreos that are hidden at the bottom, and she grabs a few and shoves them in her mouth, keeping the closet door shut, trying to get them down. She grabs a few handfuls of M&Ms out of a bag that was in the treat drawer. She does the dishes, and she keeps popping her head looking in the office to see if her husband's coming out, because she doesn't want him to see her eating. She doesn't know why she's eating, but she just knows she wants sugar. She just wants chocolate. She just wants something that will make her feel good. Is this resonating with any of you? The fact is, this is just one of many countless scenarios of what could happen that leads us into binges. Whether the binge be small or large, most of the time binges are done in private because the resulting feelings are shame, guilt, embarrassment. And so we don't want other people to see what we're doing, and often that can be a trigger by itself as being alone. When everyone leaves the house, the kids aren't home, husband or wife isn't home, you're by yourself in your car. These are often triggers because of that feeling of I'm alone, I'm free, nobody can judge me, nobody can see me. And I would venture to offer that the best thing to do is remember that personal integrity reigns supreme. That, yeah, nobody else can see you and judge you, but you are fully judging yourself. And those feelings that come along with that are very negative and will stay with you. And they impact you in more ways than you have any idea. And not just in your nutrition, it impacts you in every part of your life, because your subconscious programming, the way that your behavior manifests itself, it all stems from every experience, every internal piece of dialogue that you allow. So anyhow, that was an example of tracing back and identifying the trigger. So what was the trigger for her? The trigger was in the thoughts she allowed in her mind around the event. She could not control her husband, nor should she. The husband chose what he did. And the next thought was when she allowed thoughts of, oh, he just doesn't care enough. He doesn't value me. He doesn't love me as much as everybody else. I just must have something wrong with me that he doesn't want to spend time with me. And if this woman is, feeling that her body perhaps isn't up to par in her mind's eye or her husband's mind's eye, if he said anything to her, she might blame it on that. And I have heard this from many, many clients. She will blame her husband's lack of interest in spending time or even perhaps being intimate on Valentine's Day as her fault because she's not enough. She's not good enough. She's not blank enough. Well, that leads to the emotions of worthlessness, of being a failure, a letdown, a nobody. And these emotions, where do they lead you? They lead you to have severely depressed brain chemicals. They lead you to feeling squished and squashed and nothing. And if your coping mechanism when your brain chemicals drop like that is sugar, and if that has been the coping mechanism, then you will turn to food. Now, other people have different coping mechanisms when their brain chemicals drop. For instance, nicotine, smoking, tobacco. What about sex, pornography, gambling, alcohol, drugs? It's not so much a matter of what the addiction is, it's a matter of we don't know how to cope with helping our brain chemicals not drop and observing and getting in the habit of preventative actions of what to do to keep our brain chemicals balanced. We all have weakness, we all have triggers, we all have those tendencies. So don't feel badly that you have tendencies. You're human. What are you doing to help yourself avoid those tendencies? Okay? So as you identify, I want you to very clearly consider what were the thoughts that in the future you could change. And this comes down to reframing. Instead of thinking, my husband doesn't care, I'm not enough, position the thought of, I am so grateful I have a husband willing to work, willing to contribute and to provide for me and my family. I'm grateful I have a husband who sat and ate dinner with me. I'm grateful I have a husband who is alive. There are so many ways to find gratitude and beautiful pieces of focus within any situation, and that's attitude. That is what you have control over. And when you understand how closely wired your thoughts are to your emotions and your behavior, you will get serious about observing the thoughts in your mind and working to change those. Last but not least, we've covered B, we've covered balance your body, we've covered I, we've covered identify the triggers, and last but not least is F, which is forgiveness. Now, this is where many of my clients have asked very pressing, deep, very thoughtful, heartfelt questions, which is, how am I supposed to forgive myself if I know it's going to happen again? I know myself. I know my history. I know that I'm not perfect. And this is where we have to get very real. Number one, forgiveness is not condoning the behavior. If somebody hurt your child or your friend or your parent in some way, and you got to a point where you were ready to forgive them, does that make what they did okay? No. But it's a release of the negativity that only poisons you by holding on to it. Have you heard that? That's one of my favorite quotes about anger. Anger is like grasping hot coals with the intention of throwing them at somebody else. Yet, you are the one who gets burned. Forgiving yourself is much the same way. Do you think by holding on to anger, you're going to punish yourself into doing better? Do you think that you're going to do better and try harder next time because you're hating yourself and so frustrated with yourself and so irritated? I've never seen it work that well for people. And from my past, I certainly know it doesn't work. All it does is lead to depression, leads to feelings of self-defeat, feelings of worthlessness, feelings of self-loathing. Never being enough, no matter how many people tell you how wonderful or pretty or lovely you look or are, or how great your contributions are, it will never be enough until you learn to let go of the poison you hold on to when you do not forgive yourself. So, forgiveness is not condoning what you have done. Forgiveness is allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to move beyond it, to grow, to evolve, and to change. That is all we do as human beings. We grow, we evolve, and we change. And we have to realize that we are progressive creatures. If we are finite, if we are stuck, if we are unchangeable, what does that do for hope? It extinguishes it. It completely refutes any effort, any goal setting, any desire to grow. And I guarantee at least one person listening to this podcast right now is in that state where there is no hope and you have just resigned yourself to barely keep your head above water and just coast. And I want you to know, I get you. I've been there, and it's difficult. But you can and you must rise above that, because this world needs you. And more importantly, you need you. You need to become your own hero. You need to go beyond what you have ever felt was possible for your growth and your expansion and your knowledge, because you are not fixed. You are not a fixed creature that cannot grow. You can evolve, and you must. And any past failures do not indicate whether or not you're going to succeed in the future. The past is the past. It's simply evidence and data to learn from. And if you're viewing it as a judgment portal, you've learned incorrectly. And it's time to change that programming in your brain. Past events are not indicative of future success or failure. It is simply data to be extracted, analyzed, learned from, and moved from wisely with more intention and more purpose. Past events are beautiful. We should be grateful for every failure, every opportunity that we have fallen down, because it gives us more information to learn about ourselves and to move forward with more strategy. So next time you go through a binge, biff, Balance your body, identify the trigger, and forgive yourself. You give yourself permission to make mistakes. We come from a place of compassion, not from punishment. You'll never punish yourself into better behavior. You might for a time, but it will break, and there will only result in even more negative emotions. I have seen so many people improve in this process following binges. And over time and practice, they find that these binges decrease in frequency and severity. I'm talking anywhere from 2 months, 4 months, 6 months, a year even. But the key being we never give up. We need to keep going. We need to have a process that helps us look inside. This is less about food, more about mindset. When you get clear on your emotions, your thoughts, integrating mental discipline tools to keep yourself from going to those negative spaces, when you know how to navigate the difficulties of life, when you learn to balance your body, which physiologically, yes, you do need to, and not staying ahead of hunger and not putting the right food in your body can lead physiologically to binges. So we attack it from both sides, psychologically and physiologically. And that is exactly what my 12-week workbook is designed to do. It's designed to walk you through week by week with a discovery session, being able to watch my videos, being able to go through the workbook and look deep inside yourself. It's not easy. It's not an easy workbook. It's not an easy program. But it is extremely important for you to find the solutions you need and to set those specific goals. It will take you through a daily dive that's focused around focusing on the topics that you came up with in your weekly discovery session. Each week is a different topic that we'll be doing in the discovery session. The daily dive reiterates and reprograms as you focus on intentional living, as you focus on identifying what is going on. You'll track when you have a binge, not for the sake of punishment, but for the sake of awareness, to see how frequent, to see if there is any way to identify patterns. And last but not least, you're going to learn week by week, a step-by-step process through principles of balancing your body physiologically. Everything from getting the right fiber in your body to balancing with protein to finding the right fats, using the right toppings. I'll progress you week by week through that. I hope you will go to bingebyebye.com to get this workbook, to start this life-changing program, and I will be with you. I am the one in these videos sharing extremely personal, sensitive stories and topics and getting very real. And we will laugh together and we will cry together. And you will discover more about yourself through this 12 weeks than in any other program. Let's get going together. I know you can do it. It's all about effort and not giving up. So head over to bingebyebye.com and I will see you on the inside. Now, if this podcast resonated with you, if this is helpful, will you do me 2 favors? If you're on your smartphone, I only know the iPhone. I don't know Android, so you guys can figure it out. But if you are in the iTunes app, there's 3 little buttons on the bottom right. If you click that, you can both share this episode with a friend. You can text message it to somebody who needs it. And you can also navigate to the review section. Will you please leave a review for the Body Buddies podcast? That allows people who don't have friends like you who have already found the Body Buddies podcast to tell them about it. It helps them find it organically through searching. They may need these answers. And when you leave a review sharing your whatever, your good thoughts, I hope they're good thoughts. I hope I've been able to educate and provide value to you today and consistently. But when you share that, the way that the internet works is it will allow more people to find this podcast. So thank you in advance for doing that. Head over to bingebyebye.com and I will see you on the inside of this program. Thank you so much. Remember, power your body, one meal, one workout, one day at a time.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on iTunes. You can learn more about Body Buddies and Power Foods Lifestyle by going to www.body-buddies.com, BODY-BUDDIES.com, and powerfoodslifestyle.com. That's www.POWERFOODS-lifestyle.com.
Information in this episode is provided for informational purposes and is not meant to substitute the advice provided by your own physician or other medical professional. Information and statements regarding dietary supplements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.